Good evening. My name is Nuria Torres. I'm a lecturer at the University of Almería. And for me, it's a pleasure to have the possibility of participating in this conference. Well, my paper is in English, so I'm going to share some slides with you. The title of my paper is Bernardine Evaristo, Activism and Resilience in Girl, Woman, Other, and Manifesto on Never Giving Up. As you can see in this second slide, I have divided in different sections the parts I'm going to talk about. Firstly, I would like to start with an introduction. Later on, I will offer a section about a section on womanism, activism, and literature. After that, I will be talking about Bernardine Evaristo as activist and feminist writer. And finally, or the next step will be offering a brief analysis on a specific theme, okay, or only on a specific theme, sorry, related to the novel entitled Girl, Woman, Other that she published in 2019, and also her last work, which is concretely her memoirs, her autobiography, entitled Manifesto, published 3 years ago. After that, some conclusions will be offered and some references. Well, as I said, as a way of introduction, we say that within the literary movement known widely as Black British literature, especially over the last 2 decades, more and more authors have recently been included on it. Something clear is the evidence that Bernardine Evaristo is one of the most popular and iconic British women writers and bestsellers of the moment who is perfectly engaged with this term. Evaristo is the award-winning author of 8 books of fiction, including Girl, Woman, Other, for which she became the first Black woman to win the Booker Prize some years ago. This author has even published what has been catalogued as one of the most uplifting memoirs of 2021, entitled A Manifesto on Never Giving Up. This is an engaging memoir which can be seen as an honest meditation on personal transformation, activism, love, and belonging. Through the present paper, some aspects of Evaristo's activism and feminism will be shown. The presence of violence against women, their traumatic experiences, their capacity of resilience, and the concept of identity, not only in her fiction, but also in her memoir, will be analyzed here. To do this, some of the essays or the chapters that the reader can find in these 2 above-mentioned works will be considered. It would be important to say that Evaristo is one of the most popular and iconic British women writers and bestsellers of the moment who is perfectly engaged with this term. Evaristo is the award-winning author of 8 books of fiction, including Girl, Woman, Other, for which she became the first Black woman to win the Booker Prize, as I said before. If we, yes, for making a brief offering about womanist activism and literature, we could say that these are 2 different areas which are connected and have an important effect on the other. It is claimed by Calenda Eaton and many other womanist theologians that Black activists and writers should separate themselves from the feminist ideology due to the fact that the main of a womanist should be to promote the issues affecting not only Black women, and I'm quoting right now, but Black men and other groups that have been suggested to discrimination or impotence. This is according to Harris 2010. According to other critic called Okongjo, a white woman writer may be feminist, but a black woman writer is likely to be a womanist. That is, she recognizes, and I quote, that along with battling for sexual equality, she must also incorporate race, economics, culture, and politics with her philosophy. In Womanism, in a book called Womanism, Literature and the Transformation of the Black Community, published in 1980 by Eaton, Black women writers are portrayed as visionaries and as activists for change in the Black community. This theologian states that Black women were largely excluded from the most prominent positions within the movement, and points out that a common theme in womanist literature is the failure, we could say, the failure of Black women writers in order to identify with feminist thought. We can say, while you can say, shown on the screen, a brief biography by the author, I would like to say that we can say that given the parameters of the world we are living in, we should think about transformative struggle through inclusive acts. Scholars and institutions can contribute with a little grain of sand to view this Black British women's literature and dealing with the aims of identity, violence, and resilience immersed in their fiction, among others, with the intention of spreading the works of Black women writers out and the hope of creating awareness around these issues. For this reason, through this paper, diverse ways of violence and facts of activism, resistance, and resilience depicted in Evaristo's text will be found. Continue. Before starting talking about some of the aspects we want to consider in this paper regarding the activism and the resilience and resistance that this author deals with in her novel Girl, Woman, Other, and also in her autobiography Manifesto. I would like to say that first of all, now that you have already said some information about Bernardine Evaristo, above all, this writer, this British woman writer, is a contemporary Black one, and she is very consolidated activist and feminist writer. That's why, as you can see in the screen, I would like to point out that in Bernardine Evaristo's selected writing text for this paper, Manifesto, Never Giving Up, and Girl, Woman, Other, some questions of identity, activism, violence, and resilience are examined. It is important to take into account that these two works are quite different in regard to the genre, because one is a novel, Girl, Woman, Other, and the second one, Manifesto, is written like an essay, but they are very similar regarding the themes that they deal with. Manifesto is as I said before, an autobiographical work, and Girl, Woman, Other is a fictional novel based on 12 very different Black women's lives. Although many of the essays and characters appearing in this selected novel are based on fiction, it doesn't mean that these social troubles do not exist. I'm making reference right now to the novel Girl, Woman, Other. What Evaristo mainly intends to build here is the awareness of the society with respect to some things considered taboo or which are intentionally hidden or ignored, especially if they are directly related not only to women, but related to Black women in particular. These themes dealt with homosexuality, violence within women's couples, racism, and the capacity of resistance that these female characters experiment, as well as the resilience they have in order to overcome some traumatic experiences. Evaristo continuous activism can be easily identified in all her novels, and also in her last work, in Manifesto. Her constant activist disposition has been reflected throughout all her works, as I said. This author's purpose has always been to give voice to people involved in a racist and anti-feminist society. Firstly, she has been always worried about immigration, inequality, injustice, ethnic minorities, and violence in general terms. But in addition, we can state that all these issues have been mostly focused on women. She also reflects this in the works which will be analyzed along this paper. I will offer just some brief quotations because I don't have time enough for more. We could say that in this first one, oh sorry, it's not this one, is this is the slide I want to show you now. Yes, where you can find two quotations of the novel Girl, Woman, Other. We could say that in this work, the text is full of continuous examples where all the main characters appearing in the diverse stories presented here, most of them Black women, experiment any kind of injustice, violent act, and racist assaults, or even traumatic experience for being immigrant Black, or simply for being a woman. Like, for example, this kind of violence that Singa, one of the characters, suffer, as you can see in this first quotation. And concretely, in the second one, it is making reference to a kind of violence against women, but that is also committed for another woman. In this case, this is the case of the character, the female character of Dominique in this novel, because she suffers gender violence in hands of her couple, or her partner, female partner. This is something that is also reflected in her autobiography, in Evaristo biographies, when she talks the audience or the readers about one of the relationships, the toxic relationships she had with another woman who was called the mental dominator. This is a clear sign, no? The name that she used for calling her, sorry, is a clear sign that the kind of mistreatment that she received because of this toxic relationship. And well, I don't have a lot of time. I promise you will find much more information in the paper. As conclusions, something that I will really say is that it's quite clear, the evidence that Evaristo is one of the most popular and iconic British women writers at the moment, who is perfectly engaged with the term of Black British literature, and a very active literary activist for inclusion. This paper is also an overview of the development of Evaristo's personal and literary trajectories, ranging across texts that deal with the human and spiritual preoccupation of the writers. As the main references for the analysis here, the novel Girl, Woman, Other and her manifesto Never Giving Up have been considered to discuss how Evaristo, as a long-standing activist for the inclusion of underrepresented communities in the arts, bears witness to how many women writers like her have long been excluded from the literary market and how they have broken into the literary world through their resilience. The latter, which is also included in this study, as I mentioned, her manifesto, is an engaging memoir which can be seen as an honest meditation on personal transformation, activism, love, and belonging. Well, these are some of the references I have used for this dissertation. That has been all. So thank you very much for your attention. And in case you've got any doubts or any question or whatever, please feel free to ask me. It will be a pleasure to answer you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.